Today I would like to bring to you what I am titling SR-71 Pilot Shatters the Globe. I already brought you very recently the examples, two particular examples of long distance visual observations of mountains. I originally brought you the case of Mount Canigou, which is a mountain in France, a mountain that can be seen certain times of the year at a distance of 163 miles. We already talked about that. I then upped the ante a bit more when I brought you the case of Mount Tête d'Elstrup, which is another French mountain that at certain times of the year can be seen from a distance of 254 miles. Well, now we're going to up the ante even more. Strap on in. Again, as we give you the story of the SR-71 pilot who shattered the globe. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird is a long-range, high-altitude Mach 3 strategic reconnaissance aircraft developed and manufactured by the American, quote-unquote, aerospace company Lockheed Corporation. The SR-71 Blackbird was developed as a black project from the Lockheed A-12 reconnaissance aircraft during the 1960s by Lockheed's Skunk Works division. American aerospace engineer Clarence Kelly Johnson was responsible for many of the aircraft's innovative concepts. Here's the important part about the aircraft, all right? The SR-71's existence was revealed to the public in July of 1964. It entered service in the United States Air Force in January of 1966. In 1989, the Air Force retired the SR-71, largely for political reasons. I'd love to get into those someday. Several of the Blackbirds were reactivated during the 1990s before their second retirement in 1998. You have to understand, this is what they're telling us about this particular high-altitude aircraft. Imagine what they're not telling us. And here's the kicker, the final sentence of this paragraph. NASA was the final operator of the Blackbird, using it as a research platform. It was retired again in 1999. Yeah. Either that or, when you look up and you see the ISS in the sky, yeah, whatever. That's not the point of this, so I don't want to conjecture too much. But they're telling us that NASA got their hands on this Blackbird. I'm just, whatever. Let's keep going. During missions, the SR-71 operated at high speeds and at altitudes, allowing it to outtrace or entirely avoid threats. When we say high speeds, we mean up to Mach 3.2. And when we say high altitudes, we're talking about 85,000 feet in altitude. It's 85,000 feet above sea level. Let's put that in perspective. Your average commercial airliner has a cruising altitude of around 30,000 feet, give or take. The Concorde jet that was made popular in the 70s and 80s as a high-altitude, high-speed aircraft, which itself was retired, flew at an average cruising altitude of 50 or 55,000 feet. Now I bring you the SR-71 Blackbird that flies at a maximum altitude of 85,000 feet. You catch what I'm putting down? Let me be clear. What I'm telling you is this SR-71 Blackbird flies at the highest altitude of any known aircraft that we have. I want you to notice how aerodynamic this is, which is funny because they present us with the space shuttle as the pinnacle in high altitude flight. I mean, so high, it actually goes into low Earth orbit, apparently. It apparently can go up to 250 miles above the Earth's surface, this space shuttle. But I want you to look at the difference between this demonstrable aircraft that can provably be shown to fly at great altitudes. I want you to juxtapose that with the presentation of the space shuttle, which apparently can go orders of magnitude higher than this beauty, than this elegant example of aero technology. It's actually laughable. There it is. Look at that puppy. Completely streamlined. It needs special paint because it travels so fast that it just literally melts the paint off. Constructed of special alloy to withstand the great speeds and the low pressure of a high altitude environment. You may be looking at the pinnacle of human engineering, at least what they show us. For those of you conspirophiles out there, I'll give you a little side bit. There's also a famed aircraft called the Aurora that apparently came after the SR-71 that they apparently don't tell us about. You can look that up if you want. But again, that lies in conspiracy at this point, so I'll hesitate to go into the Aurora. All right, I'm going to play for you some sound because you don't need to hear me tell you about how Brian Shull, this SR-71 pilot, shattered the globe. I'll let him tell you, and then I'll go into it. Take it away, Brian. Good sir.
We're on our last training mission. We're over Tucson. I can see downtown LA from Tucson. We're at 89,000 feet. I can see the whole western United States bathed in a warm October fall glow. I can see the chain of Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico.
I'm going to repeat that for emphasis, and then we're going to go into what he said there. Because to the non-discriminating mind, you may hear that and go, wow, that's cool. But we're going to break it down. So let him say it one more time for emphasis.
We're on our last training mission. We're over Tucson. I can see downtown LA from Tucson. We're at 89,000 feet. I can see the whole western United States bathed in a warm October fall glow. I can see the chain of Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico.
I can see the chain of Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico. All right, so let's talk about what he said. No, I didn't say it. He said it. He said it. The other thing I want to do is look at this man. You see this look on his face? He's a little grizzled. He doesn't look like he's like, a movie actor or like part of some like weird, like, I don't know, Skull and Bones like fucking community. He looks like he's got the right stuff. He looks like a guy. Look at his eyes. Look at the crow's feet next to his eyes. Here's my point about this man, this pilot who actually flies planes like this. He's the definition of the right stuff. You get it? I look in his face and I see a guy who's got the right stuff. He's Maverick, everybody. Just a little bit aged. Maverick had the right stuff. What's your point, Z? What's your point, Z? Look at the presentation of the astronauts that they give you. Scott Kelly, the weird Canadian astronaut guy who I forget his name. So many others. Some of these ladies that they show you, they're soft. They look like professors. They look like they'd be hanging out at the local Mason Hall. Actors. No, what's your point, Z? My point is, if it takes this guy, this right stuff, Maverick-like grizzled hardcore motherfucker, to fly the SR-71, imagine how hardcore the motherfucker would have to be to fly the damn space shuttle. No, Z, what do you know? I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to show you things that strain credibility. The astronauts that they show you are goofballs. In no way would those soft-ass motherfuckers be able to get on a space shuttle, get on a Falcon 9 rocket into a Dragon capsule, whatever the hell's bringing them there now, to that damn ISS and pull it off. They would look like this son of a bitch. They would look grizzled, sharp, gnarly. You get what I'm saying? Maybe some of you do. I'm tired of it. All right, let's get back to the subject because I'm digressing. He said that he was able to see particular geographical features at great distances. The Rocky Mountains up to Canada from Arizona. Okay. You can say he was seeing at least 1,000 miles, but let's be generous to you globies. Let's say he was able to see a geographic feature 850 miles away. So this man in this aircraft was able to see something 850 miles away. Well, you may be able to say, oh, Z, well, what does that have to do with the globe and your supposed flat Earth? Because he's so high. Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with numbers, math, simple geometry, simple calculus, and objective reality. Because I'm about to demonstrate to you that no matter how high this man was in this plane, the fact that he saw anything at a distance of 850 miles away obliterates, shatters, and destroys the globe. It destroys it more so than any ground level observation over a frozen lake, any high elevation observation from a mountaintop to another mountaintop. This man's testament right here, his testimonial that he was able to see the entire chain of the Rockies all the way up to Canada from his location in the American Southern Midwest, that he was able to see downtown LA from Tucson, Arizona. His testimonial obliterates the globe. And here's why. I'm going to show you here for all you people who really aren't getting it. You see this image? That's your globe Earth. You see it? You see those lines, those angles, that triangle? I want you to go back to 6th grade when you learned something called the Pythagorean theorem. Do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? I do. It's probably the primary thing I remember from algebra, calculus. It's based on geometry. See that triangle? Yeah. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Very simple. Now, what's your point, Z? What's your point, Z? Because when I tell you that if you live on a globe with a circumference, a purported circumference of 24,901 miles at the equator, that globe necessarily has to show a level of curvature, of drop relative to the observer. You can easily calculate what the drop should be using basic algebra, geometry, and a touch of calculus, to the point where any competent sixth grader can do so. These aren't hard. I'm not making these numbers up. The other flat earthers are not making these numbers up. These are just numbers. Got it? Good. Now, I'm going to show you how an observer, even at a height of 85,000 feet above sea level, an observer who can see anything at a distance of 850 miles, obliterates the globe more than any other proof. And here's how. At an observer height of 85,000 feet, at a distance of 850 miles, the target object should have been hidden by 31.53 miles of Earth curvature, which is 166,498 feet. Well, you said, oh, Z, you said 850 miles. That's 500 miles. Here's why. This is very simple. Because, as I said, with an observer height of 85,000 feet, you can easily figure out, using the same math that I spoke of earlier, you can easily figure out from that height, from that elevation, where the geometric horizon on the globe should be, by using the formula of 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So if you take 1.225 times the square root of 85,000, you get roughly 350 miles. What's your point, Z? What's your point, Z? My point is, at that elevation of 85,000 feet above sea level, based on the mathematics of the purported globe, there should be a physical horizon at 350 miles. It means that if you lived on a globe, even at 85,000 feet above sea level, you should see nothing more than 350 miles away. But this guy saw 850 miles. So what you do is you subtract that 350 miles, which would be the distance to the horizon, from the 850, and it gives you 500 miles is the difference. You understand what I just did there? Because all you people keep saying to me, oh, but see, he's so high, he's so high. You can factor the observer height out using the same mathematics as you would to find the drop. If you think about what I'm saying, you'll discover I'm right. Based on everything I just told you, I will repeat it one more time. At an observer height of 85,000 feet, at a distance of 850 miles, the target object should have been hidden by 31.5 miles of Earth curve, which is 166,498 feet of Earth curve. I want you to think about how much Earth that is. I want you to think about how much that is. 166,000 feet of drop. What do you think the tallest mountain is in the Rocky Mountains? He said he could see the Rockies up to Canada. Mount Everest is about 29,000 feet in elevation. The highest mountain in the world, let's call it 30,000. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It means the very top of the highest mountain in the Rockies should have been hidden by about 145 or 150,000 feet of drop. Just think about how much that is. I'm going to repeat a passage I read to you the other day. Because when you say to me, it doesn't matter that he's seeing so far, Z, because he's so high, I'm going to repeat what I said the other day. You have to understand that when you look at 8 inches per mile squared, which would be the trigonometric calculation, which is derived from this picture I'm showing you here, which is basic geometry and algebra. When you look at the trigonometry of Earth curve, which is 8 inches per mile square, which is good up to 1,000 miles. People will say to me, that is a formula for a parabola. And I will say, you are correct. But it corresponds with the geometry, algebra, and calculus up to 1,000 miles. So here's what I'm going to say. If the Earth curvature can be seen at 8 inches per mile square, it means that as the observer's height increases in elevation, the growth is linear. But as the distance from the observer to the target increases, the growth is non-linear. That is exponential. This non-linear or exponential growth is defined as any growth that causes the output, which in this case is the drop, the Earth curvature drop, to be larger than the input, which is distance. I'm showing you that even if you need to achieve a great altitude, if you can see an object at great distance, it debunks and falsifies their globe model by orders of magnitude. This is irrefutable. This is beyond debate. This is science. This is real science, not pseudoscience, not theoretical science, not scientism, just science. So as you say to me that I and others like me disregard science, I can retort back to you, indeed, it is the complete opposite. We are the ones that are adhering to science and the scientific method. Not anybody who's going to try to defend a globe. Not anybody who's going to try to propose a globe. Not anybody who's going to give you CGI fake images of space and images of Earth from space.